Hello again. My name is Isabelle, and this is my knitting podcast from France. And I am wearing my wonderful fresh peonies shawl that I knitted with trellis yarns that were from her birthday and Maria's pattern. I still do not know whether they have released the pattern on Ravelry, but it is a little chilly today and I'm a bit cold in my cotton t-shirt, so I figured I was going to wear it for this podcast. So I've decided I was going to make a special podcast today because I'm just coming back from vacation in the French Pyrenees, that are the mountains at the border, south border of France and Spain, and I try to go there about every year. Some year I managed to go twice, one time in the summertime and one time around Easter, but that was only one or twice since I've been there. So I've been there for about almost 30 years because I was in the United States at the time, but my parents bought an apartment, a small apartment there, and in a small valley. And I discovered this very special place, not in that very valley, but a smaller valley, higher in the mountains, with a small village that is called Olon. So I'm gonna try to scooch a bit on the side, and maybe I'm gonna try to insert pictures around here in this part of the screen, and I also have some footage that I recorded this summer when I went there, and also last summer or a couple summers ago when I went to a tour with that very farm owner I'm going to talk about. When she was having family tours with her goats and everything. So I'm going to talk about that today because I've been buying mohair yarn from this farm for several years now, almost 30 years when I discovered it. So the farm was founded in the late 1980s. I have notes here so that I can be precise. So I think it was in 1988. Yes, the farm was founded in 1988. So I discovered the farm a few years later when I visited this other valley. And there were some announcements about the farm selling mohair, and I had still been knitted at that time. I stopped after my second and then my third son were born. So my last son was born in 2000, so that was 21 years ago. So after that I stopped knitting, and I have taken knitting back maybe 4 years ago. But anyway, at that time I was knitting a lot, and I did go there about every year and buy mohair and knit a lot of things. Some of them I still have them, some of them were gifts, I've given them away. Some of them I don't have them any longer. But anyway, but I've been there every year, and I would very much like to be able to live there. It's a very peaceful, very green place. So it's up in the mountains. It's around 2,000 meters. I haven't checked how many feet that was, but anyway, maybe I'll try to write it down somewhere on the screen. But anyway, it's my place. It's my mental place I go to when I need some rest, when I need some peaceful mind, when a lot of things that are not very pleasant surround me, when there is a lot of either anger, or because my work sometimes I have to deal with people who have lots of anger. Anyway, when I need that mental space to find a peaceful place, this is where I go. This is where I would like to live. I think I'm, gonna put some pictures around here of the small village and the places you can hike around the village. A little bit further up, there are some old barns that have been I've lost the word. That have been renovated, that's it. And that are, I think you can rent them for the summertime, because during the winter time there are lots of snow, and I don't think these barns you can go with a car during the winter time. Maybe not. Maybe they don't remove the snow at that time of year. They remove the snow, they clear the snow up to the village, but not further up. So these barns you can only go when there is no snow, and you can go either by car. There is a small road you can take and go there, or you can go hiking. This is what I do. I leave my car in the village and I go hike to these places. I bring my knitting with me, and I knit a bit if the weather permits, because sometimes in the Pyrenees it rains a lot. So if it's raining, I'm still hiking, but I won't sit and knit, of course. Anyway, so there was that farm with that lady who raises goats, Angora goats from Tibet, I think, or at least the Himalayas. So she brought the goats and started her farm at that time in the late 80s. Then, so she was raising the goat, breeding the goat, selecting the goats for the mohair, and now the farm produces a very, very interesting, exceptional fiber that is very soft, very fluffy, and very thin. It's under 20 something microns. And the thing is, it's not that common to have a fiber that is less than 28 microns, or for the bigger one, it's less than 32 microns. So it's quite exceptional, quite an exceptional yarn. So she gets the yarn and it's processed elsewhere. It's washed and spinned and dyed. And she sells several kind of mohair. One is the regular one. It's about 100 meters for 50 grams, and it's 90% super kid mohair, so it's under 28 microns, 5% merino and 5% silk. So that's the biggest yarn. So I have some here. I have several. I have with that yarn I have 2 sweaters quantities that I bought last year and 2 years ago. I did not buy this mohair this year. So this is the Arbizon mohair. So it's 100 meters, so 200 meters for 100 grams. The balls are 50 grams, so it's 100 meters for 50 grams. And you see the yarn is very fluffy. So this one is in a storm blue colorway. So I have a sweater quantity. I still don't have decided which pattern I'm going to make. I'm waiting for the pattern to go to me. And this one, it's the same yarn in Veronese. It is some kind of a greener, a green, emerald green colorway. And you see how fluffy the yarn is. So it's a very, very soft and very fluffy yarn. I have several knitted items that I have here with me. Some of them I've given away, some of them I don't have them anymore. They got lost at some point. So I have this, so it's in the black. This one I knitted. I'm not gonna lie to you, maybe 20 years ago I've knitted that. So it's very loose now. I've never ever washed it. You don't have to wash your yarn. You can take it out, have it, take fresh air. If there is some stain, you can remove it with a sponge or with water and soap and everything. I should brush it again because I've worn it a lot. Sometimes I even sleep with it when I'm very cold. So the fiber is all inside the knitted part, it's all inside the knit. And so this is some kind of a shawl. I'm going to remove that. And she sells also with, I'm not sure, I have to check the word in English, I forgot. So you can attach your knits and okay. So I had placed a button here, but I need to remove it or to change it because it's too loose now. But I've never washed it in 20 years. I've never washed it. It's extremely warm. I even sleep with it when it's too cold. And I wear it on top of my jackets, on top of my coats, on top of my dresses. I wear it at work. And I wear it all year long. And you see, so this is a black one. It was very difficult to knit black, and I won't knit dark colors any longer or too much because I don't see anything. It's just, I think I made it in, plain garter stitch. There is no pattern. I made it as I was knitting. And now I'm using this to hold it together, and I should remove the button, but I've not done that. So maybe I'll do it at some point, and it still smells. It still smells my winter perfume. Okay, so here is another one that I made. So that was the black colorway, and this one is the saffron colorway. I call it curry, but the real name is saffron. You see, it's even older than the black one, and my cats, played with it and made holes. So this is also, I'm not sure it's a plain garter. I think it's garter with the stockinette row in between. I don't recall what I did. And so it's also a big shawl. You see, it's a very big shawl. I put a lot of balls in there. And you see, it's this very rich saffron color. And once again, I also wear it every summer. I've never washed it. I just put it, someplace in the wind when there is not too much humidity, and all the smells goes out. And if there is a stain or something, I just remove it, and that's it. So these are the two pieces, two shawls I still have. Other ones, I've knitted a lot of other ones, but I've given them away. Some of them unfortunately, I've lost them. So, and sorry, my hairdresser is on vacation, so I need to go very soon. So this is what I've knitted with her regular or original Arbizon. Arbizon is the mountain that is close to Olon, where the village is. It's the highest point in this area. It's not the highest point in the Pyrenees, but the highest point in this area. So she has a second yarn type. It's finer yarn. It's still called Arbizon, but it's called Arbizon fin. That means thin. So it's a thinner yarn. This one is 150 meters for 50 grams. So that's 300 meters for 100 grams. So that's not fingering. It's heavier than fingering. And you see, it's also very fluffy. So this one is an indigo, vegetal indigo dye. And the young lady who took over the farm about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, she's really expanded all the project, and she's still using, these environmentally safe places where the yarn is washed and spinned and colored and dyed. But she's also using vegetal colorways. So the indigo one is one of these colorways, and the new colorways that she's made. It's quite difficult to dye blue dye and indigo dye. So here is my cat. You've seen him already. Maybe he's gonna come around. You wanna come? No. So indigo is a newer colorway with a vegetal natural dye. So that's this sweater quantity. I have a sweater quantity for that. I've already shown you, I think, in a previous podcast. And the other in the same fine mohair is the Reseda, which is also a vegetal dye. So this one I had to wash because there were some problems with the dye. So she said I needed to wash it to make it a bit softer, and so the dye bleeds. And so I did. I washed all the skins. I also have a sweater quantity for that. I washed all the skins, and now they are dry and they are ready for me. I think I want to make some kind of a cardigan with that. I don't know what I want to do with the indigo colorway, but this one I want to make a cardigan, a short cropped cardigan. Anyway, so that's two of her yarns. There is another yarn she makes. So here it's attached to my project. So this is the booklet. So you see here with booklet, you have little loops that are sticking out of the yarn because it's not combed the same way as the Arbizon yarn. It's not combed the same way. So with the regular Arbizon, which you have here, if I can find the piece, okay, which you have here, it's combed, and all the fluff comes out in a regular fluffy mohair way. This one doesn't, and it does come out with the way it's in the normal uncombed, almost uncombed yarn, and it makes little loops. So boucle in French is the kind of loop you have in your curl, the curl you have in your hair. So bouclette would be small curl, and I think it really shows what this yarn is with the little these little loops of mohair standing out, and it makes a very particular yarn, because a very particular knit, because it's the same quality as the Arbizon Fin. So I forgot to tell you, Arbizon Fin is also a super kid mohair, less than 28 microns, but it's 80% super kid mohair, 80%, when the Arbizon, the regular Arbizon, is 90. And it's 10% merinos and 10% silk. So it's a little bit more shiny, you see? So what I'm currently knitting with these two ones from the same colorway, the Arbizon, the regular Arbizon, and the bouclette in the saffron colorway, is a shawl that is going to be for my mother's Christmas. So she doesn't watch YouTube. She doesn't, she doesn't look at anything not much on the internet. So I think it's this way. So I'm making the pattern as I'm going. The idea is I casted on the same way Stephen West had me cast on the Boneyard shawl that I've already knitted. So you start with 3 stitches, then you knit six or 7 rows, I don't recall. Then you pick up 3 stitches and an additional 3 stitches. So that makes you starting with 9 stitches. And then you increase around the center stitch. So I decided to make with yarn overs, and then you increase at the end of each row, at either end, each ends, right and left. And so I decided to make it also with yarn overs to make holes. And then I decided that I'm going to keep the Boneyard idea to have some garter stitch, 2 separate sections. Several of the shawls patterns call for that. So here you have a garter row here. So I think here is the regular Arbizon that I casted on and started with the original triangle, the inside and then here is with the bouclette. So this is stockinette also in bouclette. So I decided I am going to knit sections in stockinette with bouclette, and I'm going to knit sections with the regular Arbizon in lace. So here I did just knit 2 together and yarn over to make holes. So I did 3 repeats over 4 rows, and the last one I did not purl on the wrong side. I did knit on the wrong side to make this purl row, and then I've switched back to the bouclette to make a garter, 12 rows of stockinette, and with the garter ridge at the end. And then I will have to find some other lace to continue the shawl until I run out of yarn. I have 1 ball of bouclette, but I think I have some leftovers from last year when I knitted some coats for my co-workers. They are in my Ravelry page and projects. and I still think I have some of that. So I will see. We'll have to see if the the dye lot is not too different. If it's too different, I will have to think over what I'm going to be doing. And I've chosen a stitch pattern from two books. The Second Treasury of Knitting Patterns from Barbara Walker. I could not find the first book. It was out of stock, and as I told you, there are not many bookstores that carry English books, and none of them carry knitting books in English in my area, so I have to order them online. I did order that one from a big world company. But anyway, I could not have the first one, so I just got the second one. And I found several patterns. For example, this one, I think I will try to make this seafoam pattern here. Which other one have I seen from this one, which I probably liked? Yes, this is the cellular stitch. I think I've sort of got some inspiration for my current lace pattern, and I've lost the two bookmarks, so I don't recall where I was having my marks in this book. I will have to look again. Anyway, and the second book I am finding stitch patterns from is the Vogue Knitting Handbook, Stitch Dictionary. So what did I see here? I don't recall which one it was here. Maybe the polka dots, but I think, yes, the seafoam. There is also a seafoam, stitch pattern here. So I'm gonna see which ones I'm gonna make. Maybe I'll make both of them on two different sections. Anyway, so these are my current projects with the yarn from the Mohair farm in Olon in the Pyrenees. Probably I will maybe put now some of the footage I shot this summer and a couple summers ago, and I hope I had places to put some of my pictures in this podcast. I totally forgot to talk about the pictures I wanted to show, but the mountains is really, really nice. It's a place I like to go every year. It's a place I like to buy yarn from. You can buy yarn online. They have an online shop. I do not know if they shop internationally. I will have to check. But anyway, at least when you're in France, you can buy yarn, online. So that's all for today. I wanted to talk about this place and this young lady. She's really fantastic, and I like to go there every year, and I hope I will continue to go there every year and buy yarn and knit things for myself or for my friends and family. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you ever go to the Pyrenees, you will go there. I will try to place in the show notes a link to some sites, maybe Wikipedia page, where you can exactly find where the village is. And I will probably write a companion blog post so that maybe there are more details about all of that, where you can find them and everything, and the area. And I do hope if you go there one day, you can go and see this farm and talk to the young lady and see her goats and buy some yarn for yourself and bring it back home and knit a piece of the Pyrenees. Okay, so thank you for listening to me. I think there will be a subscribe button somewhere. I think it's going to be on this side. And thank you for coming back. And thank you for watching my small podcast. And I will see you in the next one.